Hello there, what is going on, everyone? Today we are doing a top 10 list of the top 10 things I'd like to see come to Star Trek Into the Unknown. And this is actually a different type of top 10 list. It's not specifically in order from 10 to 1, although the last one is definitely a particular one. So, but the first is also a particular one, and so there's no specific order with this. These are just 10 things that I want in the game. I like to do top 10 lists and wish lists and speculation videos. It's one of the things I love to do. And since this is the end of the year, we have a whole year ahead of us, I figure this is a great idea to look at things that maybe we'll see in 2026 and maybe we'll see announced in 2026 as we are in this phase where the rising tensions expansion is people are getting shipping notices and people are starting to get it. As this is showing up in people's hands, we're getting more into Star Trek Into the Unknown, and this is a great way to take a look at the things that they're giving us. We have Glory and Zeal that's just over the horizon that we'll probably be hearing more about as we get into 2026, which is going to feature more with Klingons and also introducing the Cardassians. More on that in the future. We're going to be talking a lot more about Glory and Zeal as it gets closer, but there's a lot to talk about with rising tensions, and there's a lot to talk about with other things that we want into the game. So that's what I'm doing today. Also, 12 Days of Life Day is happening. We're going to do another giveaway winner at the end of this video. So if you want to have a chance to enter to win any of my giveaways, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. It's as simple as that. With all that being said, I'm just going to jump right into this list and start talking about things that I want to see in Star Trek Into the Unknown. And you can let me know in the comments what you want to see, or if you agree with anything that's on my list. Also, we have other links in the description below. If you're looking to save some money on Battle Foam, we have a link down there with a discount code, Crabbok VIP. Discord, you can jump in our Discord if you want to talk more about Star Trek Into the Unknown. We also have other Discords in there that we can link from there so you can get in touch with. We can talk about it in our Discord. There's other Discords also. All that stuff is down there. So, you can check that out after the video. Starting off with standalone ship packs. Now, we do have ship packs already, but I am really a proponent of standalone ship packs that are properly for Star Trek Into the Unknown, while the standalone ship packs that we have right now are more collector's edition ship packs. They're not necessarily like a fully functional ship pack. They're great as a substitute or an alternate art replacement for existing ones, or if you just like the models, because they're actually priced very competitively too. They're very reasonably priced. Incredible value. For example, like this, I think this Bird of Prey 2-pack is like $29, something like that. It's like incredibly priced for the amount of detail and the movable wings, and you're getting 2 ships in there. It's really a fantastic value. However, you don't have 100% of what you need to field this in the game. And that is where it's like, okay, if they had followed the playbook of like other spaceship games, you might have a box that actually says Star Trek Into the Unknown on it and has everything you need, including maybe cloaking tokens and things that it would need for that, as well as maybe some of the officers that you'd need, and maybe even some new officers, right? So it could be an opportunity to do that. But the new officers isn't a strict requirement, but you do kind of need at least like the one bridge officer, and just basic necessities to add it to the game. They could do that a little bit better, but this isn't a criticism of the ship packs that they already have, because they're priced very well, and they're marketed for collectors, and that's great. I'd love to see in addition to this, ship packs that are marketed for the game specifically that have more game components in them. That's what I'd like to. Plus, I think this is a great way to do things moving forward, because I don't think every faction that they want to add to the game is going to have enough ships to justify a whole, large box expansion. For example, we've seen multiple characters that have Ferengi sway. How many ships do you think the Ferengis have? They have the Ferengi Marauder, and then like Quark's shuttle, and that's basically it. Or well, I guess there was that other shuttle they took through that the Barzan wormhole that got stuck in the Delta Quadrant, right? Like, you've got Ferengi shuttles, and then you've got a Ferengi Marauder. You can put both of those in a single ship pack, and then boom, But you would need Ferengi crew. You need to make it fully functional. And maybe you'd need rules of acquisition. I don't even know how they're going to do the Ferengis, right? I'm thinking of the old Decipher card game, and they had all these rules of acquisition. Maybe you need Latinum, to make to pay your Ferengi crew and all this other cool stuff. My point is that fully contained ship packs would be really cool. I'd love to see that at some point. Although these are cool too, just they're not the end all solution, right? So that's one item on the wish list. Another thing on the item on the wish list is to expand the Dominion. Now, this is one of those examples of stuff I already know that they plan to do. It's still on my wish list. Not everything on the wish list is stuff they're not doing. I believe they also want to do standalone ship packs. I think there's a lot of things they want to do. I don't know exactly how far along things like that are. I don't know how real things like that are. There's always a difference between we want to do this and we're actually doing this right now. There's always that. So just because something's on my wish list doesn't mean it's not happening. But yes, I'd love to see more stuff happen with the Dominion as we look to rising tensions, getting more Federation ships and more Federation crew added to the Federation. Naturally, we know that the Federation is going to have the most stuff because, well, it's central to every Star Trek show. But we also see the Klingons are getting more stuff in Glory and Zeal, which is going to be the next expansion. And so Klingons are seeing some stuff here and some stuff in the next box, and that's really cool. And that's a cool thing. And maybe that's a pattern that will continue. And I want them to also revisit the Dominion, because there's more characters that can be added. There's allied ships. Maybe the Breen would be kind of a Dominion faction, or a dual faction thing. There's a lot of different ways that they can do that. And of course, with Sway, it does allow for existing factions like the Cardassians, for example, to also work with the Dominion. But there's also like that giant, the really, really big Dominion ship that I don't think we've seen yet, the battleship, right? So, like there's a little more they could do with the Dominion, and I'd love to see. And this could also piggyback into the standalone ship packs option, right? This is just another. Some of these ideas build off of each other. So you might criticize and say it's not truly 10 because a lot of them had a Venn diagram and they overlapped with the other one. Well, it's 10 because I got 10 pictures, so it's 10. That's how I'm doing it. Okay, we're having fun in this video. All right. By the way, happy holidays to everybody who's watching. Hopefully you're having a wonderful month, and I really appreciate you. We're past Thanksgiving right now, but I'm still very thankful for all of you and for everybody who's out there working on amazing games like Star Trek Into the Unknown. Thank you guys for creating great stuff. So, a little mid thing, I don't know, just inserting stuff randomly into my videos because I enjoy making videos. All right, next up, Voyager. Yeah, I want Voyager in this game. However, this one's going to be a little different because, and while I'm fine with Voyager being in the game, of course, because I want them, and I'm even fine with them taking other characters from the Delta Quadrant and bringing them into the game, like Neelix, or even the Kazon and other factions and stuff like that. There's some cool ships. They have different technology. They don't have transporters, right? Like, it could be very cool at some point. I don't think I want to see Voyager have some kind of weird mechanic, and I think they did this in the Decipher game, where like Voyager has to be in the Delta Quadrant. And so they can't start out in the Alpha Quadrant. They've got to be in the Delta Quadrant. They've got to do things. And they're kind of halfway off screen like I am right now, right? Like, I don't want that. I want Voyager just to mesh with everything else. Or at least have the option to mesh with everything else. I don't think I really want... Because I think, honestly, I think the game of Star Trek Into the Unknown is fairly rules heavy. And while you can certainly jump into it without going into everything... adding a whole different quadrant and like a whole nother game board or something like that would be very weird, and and I want it to be able to take advantage of the stuff we already have. So if that means Voyager is going to do a mission up against the Dominion, that's really cool, and I want that to be able to happen. So that's kind of how I want Voyager to work. I think it'd be cool. And since we can do moving pieces now, moving nacelles, yeah, I think so. Maybe the Delta Flyer, there's so many cool things they could do with that. So yeah, and Tuvix should be in there too. Justice for Tuvix. All right, space stations. I want space stations. I want Deep Space Nine. Look, it's been suggested, there's a lot of debate over the size of Deep Space Nine, and I think it's one of those things that just happens on screen. To me, I think the WizKids attack wing Deep Space Nine is appropriately scaled for this game, but I'm not the expert. I've heard otherwise as well. Whatever the scale ends up being, whatever the studio decides to approve or whatever, that's fine. If it ends up being bigger, that's cool too. I'm sure there's lots of ways they could make it a reality. Maybe it's just something that happens at conventions. Maybe it's not. You could even market it as a generic, like a Nor style. It could be, an Empok Nor or something like that, or a Cardassian Terok Nor. You can have one model serve multiple functions, and that'd be a cool thing. Bonus points if they kind of hook it up to some kind of gyro where you can alternate it and make it kind of like 45 degrees one way, just kind of, like, oh, we have it crooked now, like the one abandoned space station with the Ferengi and all that stuff. Great episode, by the way. So yeah, I still want to see all that. There's a lot of other space stations. They could do smaller space stations also. Space stations would be a fun one, but Deep Space Nine, definitely the most iconic. Also the centerpiece of the timeline of the story of the game. So, of course, Deep Space Nine should show up in the game. And, even if they have to only do it cardboard, yeah, or maybe do multiple options. Maybe have a cardboard option and have the deluxe model as an optional buy. So this way you can still get the gameplay without having to, but I think, honestly, if they do a bigger collector's edition kind of version of Deep Space Nine, people are going to want that. I'm going to want that. It could be really cool. I wouldn't even mind a bigger one broken up into thirds or something like that, since it's kind of three-way symmetrical, and you can only have to buy 1/3, put it in the corner of the table, something like that. That'd be cool too. There's a lot of ways they could do it, or they could just cut it in half, also, and then maybe you put it together if you buy it or something like that. I don't know. A lot of cool options. Okay. Let's talk. We're talking about a lot of different concepts here. It's not just individual expansions that I want or individual ships. Sometimes it's stations. Sometimes it's, direction for the game. This one's a mode of play. And I've talked about this a little bit before. All-out war. At some point in this game's life cycle, we're going to develop fairly large fleets, fairly large collections. Wouldn't it be cool to have a dedicated skirmish kind of mode where you can just say, you know what, I'm going to take all of my ships up against all of your ships, boom, or of within a certain faction, or make a really big alliance, right? Take the all of your Dominion ships and all of your Cardassians up against all of the Federation and the Klingons, or something like that. Like, that would be really cool. You'd have to have an abbreviated kind of schedule. Now, we could always homebrew this. We could always do this. You could always just agree with your opponent. Hey, you want to just play like a combat mission. Well, you want to just play aggressively versus each other. And you can kind of do that already. But I would love to see what they came up with for like a large scale version of it. Is there slimmed down rules? Are you playing with like only one officer per ship, and then that, thus you can't really do as much. There's a lot of different approaches on how to make something like this get very large and also play fast. And I'd love to see if this, eventually becomes, again, as time goes by, we develop bigger collections, more and more ships get added, and we have these beautiful, diverse fleets. I'd love to see, what comes out of that, and if they can come up with some kind of really cool all-out war scenario or a mode of play, or maybe it's just a special, like, convention-only kind of thing, But yeah, it could be really fun. I'd love to see what ended up coming out of it as well. All right, next up, possible. Some of you might disagree with this one. This one's gonna be a little controversial. The Borg. Yes, I want to see the Borg show up in this game, but there's a caveat. I want to see the Borg show up in this game eventually. Don't need it this year. Don't need it next year. It's an eventual thing. And to be fair, this kind of piggybacks off of the all-out war combat mode. I think if you've got a way to do all-out war, the Borg is an opportunity to say, okay, good. Now that you know how to fight each other, join together and fight me. Resistance is futile? Maybe not, if we can put our differences aside and unite as one. So that's my idea. Is like the Borg could be a really cool, entry into this game. Eventually, once we have really big fleets and we are looking for some kind of one versus many or a really big epic encounter, it'd be a great way to introduce this at conventions. Have a big Borg cube in the center of the table and have players kind of all sign up. Turn in their event tickets, and then boom, you got like 12 people, battling all around trying to take out this Borg cube as it's quickly regenerating, and whoever scores the most hits is earning points and stuff like that. It could be a real fun way to do things. Or, or maybe my dogs will just bark because somebody will be at the door. And that happens. Hey, chill out. I'm trying to talk about the Borg over here. I should edit that out, but I'm going to leave it in because, we're going to just truck along. Anyway, the Borg would be really cool. Their ships are great. I'd love to see what they come up with. It doesn't just have to be a cube, too. You could do a sphere and do like a smaller one, which might be better for like small groups, right? Or smaller fleets, but the Borg cube eventually has to show up, right? And maybe they do other things, too. But I don't just mean them like as a normal faction to go up against, a 3-ship Federation fleet or something like that. I mean them to be not even tournament legal in the normal gameplay sense, but to be like their own special mode of when you're playing the Borg, you're playing a different thing, and that could be fun. That could be really cool. Maybe the goal isn't even to kill them. Maybe it's just to damage them, or maybe you score points just by like damaging them and then sending information. Hey, we found out what their shield harmonics are, and boom, you send that back. There's so many cool things they could do with the Borg in this that you don't see done in other traditional warfare games that would still have some traditional warfare, but then kick it up a notch of intel and learning about the enemy as you're fighting them. There's cool things they could do with the Borg, and I'd love to see what the brilliant minds behind Star Trek Into the Unknown could come up with. Be very cool. All right. Let's keep going. We're talking about lots of different things. Again, not just the individual ships, although there's an individual ship coming up here, but also an animation style. That's right. We're talking about the Cerritos California class from the show Lower Decks. Animated Star Trek stuff. Look, we've got to expand into different shows. We've already done it. We've got Next Generation. We've got Deep Space Nine. Possible Voyager just around the corner. Who knows? They've also hinted that they want to go to the original series at some point, which I think would be great, and I'm sure they will do. Maybe Mirror Universe at some point. Great. But really, to push the envelope, we need to cross the actual reality into animation, right? Lower Decks offers an incredible show, and I feel like some people might disagree. I feel like this is one of those shows that some people just don't want to watch cartoon Star Trek, and they don't really want to get into the humor of it. I was on the fence about this for a while, but if you haven't seen it, I really encourage you to give it a shot. Give it a real attempt. It does have some humor. It is a little crass, but it's also a genuine love letter to all of Star Trek. It's absolutely wonderful. Lower Decks is one of the best things that they've ever done with Star Trek, at least since the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager era. I absolutely love it, and I think it'd be really cool to have just a straight up animated ship cards and character cards and stuff like that. And then what about the ship itself? Like, what style would it be in, right? Like, would it kind of still look? I think it would still look like. Because we've seen. Like, I think Eagle Moss and then Fan Home, which I'm doing a lot of their stuff, have done stuff like this. And it fits in really well with the other ships as well. So, yeah, California class. Let's do a Lower Decks one. Speaking of Lower Decks, next one on my list, crew packs. Maybe even featuring the Lower Decks people. Crew packs would be an excellent way to get more stuff into the game without having to have a whole ship to go along with it. There are a lot of characters in this universe that were all tied to the Enterprise. And there's only so many Enterprise expansions they can make. And granted, you can kind of get away with putting some of the Enterprise crew in the latest expansion with Rising Tensions. You've got a lot of them there, but not everybody's there. Are they going to keep dropping Enterprise crew on ships that aren't the Enterprise? Or would they then just say, you know what, we can just drop a crew pack out there? I think crew packs would be a really cool idea, especially for some characters that aren't super big names, like Nurse Ogawa or Sito Jaxa. Come on, Sito Jaxa deserves to be in this game. She is epic. And, I'm just saying, justice for Tuvix and justice for Sito Jaxa. Is Sito Jaxa still alive? Let me know in the comments. What do you think the chances are? How cool would that be? Anyway. But no, Lower Decks would actually is a great example of a show that kind of showcases we could have some officers that are cheaper, and maybe you want to make them unique so that they have a cool ability, but it's like maybe only situational, and they don't have to be kind of as expensive. Again, you already have generic officers in the game, but this would be a cool way to kind of get an in-between and have some unique mechanics that you don't want to be spammable, so you want to have them on a unique officer or something like that. I think it could be cool, and it's a great way to also get some fan favorites or to do some deep cuts. You know, that would be a fun one. Now, the last two are specific characters that I want to see in the game that could come in the form of crew packs. First one, controversial, but I hope you're with me on this one. Captain Jellicoe. Look, they portrayed him to be a bad guy because he was mean. And that was definitely, you know, par for the course in like late 80s, early 90s TV that was just like, what, you're by the book? But we're a cool ship over here. This is the Love Boat. You can't come in here acting like a drill sergeant. But now that we're all grown and we go back and look at Captain Edward Jellicoe, dude was a boss captain. He was excellent. Yes, he was a little nervous and wasn't completely sure of himself when dealing with the Cardassians, who could be. But man, he was stressing rules and regulations and uniforms and doing things the right way, especially in a crisis. You're on the brink of war. You got to tighten the ship up. And, you know, really the biggest problem is that Riker refused to follow his orders and was blatantly insubordinate to this dude. You know, and somehow Riker was painted as the good guy. No, Riker was out of line. Riker's awesome, but in that episode, Riker was in the wrong. And I hope he's learned his lesson. Jellicoe wasn't the nicest guy. You know what he did? He talked to Counselor Troy. He's like, hey, look, I am aware of my weakness. I am not that great at dealing with people. I could use your assistance in doing this. And what more can you ask for somebody who knows their own weakness and is willing to admit it and seek a way to smooth things over? I really like Jellicoe. He's cool. Not sure exactly how he would translate into this game other than just being a good captain. But maybe he gets a bonus versus the Cardassians. I don't know. Speaking about captains, I have problems with the Cardassians. Comes my number one. The man, the myth, the legend, and something I think would be amazing for this game, especially for the Federation, Benjamin Maxwell, Captain of the Phoenix. Oh, first off, it's a Nebula class. We need the Nebula class. This is all tying the whole list together. We need standalone ship packs, right? Nebula works perfect as a standalone ship pack. You can have multiple, because people are going to want multiple Nebulas. It's one of the most popular ships of Starfleet during this time period. Anytime you have a group shot, there's going to be nebulas. There's going to be a lot of them. Nebulas were one of the main reasons that inspired this game, right? Data took temporary command of a nebula with the first officer, Christopher Hobson, that also was a little bit insubordinate and didn't want to follow orders, but begrudgingly kind of came around. Data had to kind of borrow a page from Captain Jellicoe in his rulebook, right? So it's like the Nebula's already a great ship. The Phoenix is a very monster truck of a ship. Excellent ship. And, you know, and Benjamin Maxwell, look, he was right. He was out of line, but he was right, right? he was correct. And he may have, you know, he sacrificed his own career to do some unwarranted military action at the right time in the right place and prevented a war. And you know, and he should have been punished for it. That was the chance he took. He was out of line. But was he wrong? I don't think so. I think something like this would be amazing in the game where the Federation's like not allowed to open fire first. Have this rule breaker come on into your games, break the rules, pay the price for it. Maybe he's gone. Maybe he gets to open fire for free and then he is ejected. He's put in the brig. He's out of the game, right? Something crazy like that. Sacrifices himself for the greater good. I don't know. That could be a little too strong depending on the Federation. You know, I don't know. These are just rough ideas. Either way, thematically, he seems like he's amazing, especially for my playstyle, because I know my opponent is up to no good, and I aim to misbehave, to quote Mal Reynolds. All right, that's my list. Those are my 10 wish list items. Let me know some of yours down in the comments section below. Hope you don't mind. I got a little off topic here, carried away a little bit. I had fun with this video, and I hope you enjoyed yourself too. We have a winner to announce. So today's giveaway winner, is going to be Greg Inglis, Z7 Golf. So Zulu 7 go. All right. Well, you're gonna win this foil Benjamin Sisko for Star Trek Into the Unknown. Benjamin Sisko, best captain ever. And I'll stand on that hill. I don't know if I'll die on that hill, but I'll stand on that hill. Greg Inglis, go ahead and shoot me an email at mailcrabbok@gmail.com, and I'll get your contact information. Let me know what you've won. I'm doing a lot of giveaways. Let me know you won the foil Cisco, and I'll need your shipping information. We'll get this out to you. If you did not win, don't worry. Anything goes unclaimed for 30 days rolls over into Patreon giveaways. So patrons have extra options to get cool stuff. And yeah, so you got time. Hop on down there, click some of the links in the description below, jump on our Discord, all of that. Let me know some of your thoughts. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.